I'ma go get it. What you tryna do with it? I'ma go get it. What you tryna do with it? I'ma go get it. What you tryna do with it? I'ma go get it. What you tryna do with it?
We ready for jump ball, center court now, standing tall now, hold the fort down. This is showtime, more than sports now, more than crunch time, we rush like fourth down.
I be taking win, we don't mess with laws. I be taking win, we don't mess with laws. I be taking win, we don't mess with laws. I be taking win, we don't mess with laws. We been on that paper chasing all that fashion. We been on that paper chasing what you ration.
Been in the grind now, we ready for prime time, ready for shine now, be ready to get mine. On the rise, all eyes up on us now, blast off spaceships till the touchdown.
Energy level on high, put that trouble on fire. Double it down, I'ma spit it around. Click, clack, boom, we the best in town. Energy level on high, put that trouble on fire. Double it down, I'ma spit it around. Click, clack, boom, we the best in town. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though. Started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though.
Yo, I got the ProQuo glow on, baby. What's going on? My name is Pro. Almost didn't do a little ProQuo show tonight. Reason being, truthfully, I got a puppy. And, my wife's out, had to get my son to sleep. He's 9, you know what I mean? And so this is what we did. I'll give you the puppy epilogue. We put the puppy in the room with him, put him to sleep, but the puppy still has a puppy apartment. It's like a crate thing, poop on one side, food on the other kind of thing. And she freaks out whenever you leave the room. So she's alone, you know what I mean? I was like, we're not going to get this done by 9 because puppy bedtime, my son's bedtime on 9 on the weekends, which the ProQuo does. But normally my wife is here, and that helps deal with Henry's situation. So that's just the deal. And I'm listening. I don't hear the puppy right now. So I think the puppy managed to get to sleep. I'm not 100% positive on that. What up, Tree? What up, Tree? Tree, it's just you and I right now. We're just rocking out. So it's whatever you want to talk about, Tree. We can get to it. I brought up, here's what I did though. Because the puppy's downstairs, right? On the first, I'm in a 4th floor. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show you the town. I'm gonna take you on a tour. I'm gonna take you on a tour of Pro's house. Now it's gonna take a second, Tree. This may not be epic TV, whatever you want to call this, broadcast, but it will be unique. So let me see what I can find. I'm gonna take you on a tour. So you get the idea where the puppy is. So oh man, I can't show you the bicep pictures. I was doing some bicep pictures in the mirror today. All right, so I got the crib, I got the puppy. All right, so I think we're good to go. So I'm gonna give you a tour when I bought the house, what it looked like, so you can get an idea where the puppy is. There's no decorations in here or anything like that, but it'll be cool. You ready, Tree? You ready? Anybody watching the ProQuo show? Quo, you might be watching the ProQuo show going, what is this? What is this quality stuff we're doing? And shout out to Hendo, featured on the new ProQuo single that's dropping at radio next week. Dive in it. My opinion, it's the best all-around track on the album. Straight up hip-hop track that you gotta love. I love it. And shout out to Hendo. He killed that verse. Was speaking with him today. All right, let's do this. You ready? Are you ready? You ready, Pro? I see you say you're ready. All right. We're going to lose our audience. No, we won't. All right. So first we're going to start with Tavia. So this is Tavia. She's downstairs. So that is Tavia. Say hi, Tavia. Let's get this on big screen here. Oh, that's not big screen. Let's. Is that as big as I can get this right now? Let me blow it up on the screen so we can go here. All right, cool. I think that's probably a little bit better. So that's Tavia. She is a Cavapoo, and she is not quite 10 weeks. So my son is in love with her, as is the neighborhood, as is his Taekwondo. So that's her. So I am on the tippity top of this place. So let me show you this place so you can see what we mean. I think we're gonna be able to go. I hope I can go in the direction I want to go. Whoa. Hey now. You telling me I can only go one direction? What? What? What are they doing to me? Yeah, they're killing me. I don't want you to see the biceps. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to scare anybody. All right, cool. So this is the like main floor, and Tavia is right here. There's a corner right here, right there. She's in this corner, and that's where she's at. And so this is the kitchen. And so we have a table over here in the kitchen where Henry sits and plays with his computer, that kind of stuff. So this angle, she can see everybody chilling right there. So she loves being right here. But here are the steps to come up where I am. So let me give you let me drop this back down just a little bit. Um, so that's the downstairs room. That's upstairs. That's like the master bedroom. This is actually the room outside of where I am right now. Um, Master bathroom. That's the kitchen. Giving you guys the grand tour. That's the room she's in. So you go over here. It goes upstairs. I don't think we have any other pictures. Can't. Well, all right. Maybe from the outside. So that's it. We're way up here. Way up. You can't even see. You can't even see the peak. But we're way up here, and she's way down here. So this is like 4 floors up. So that's where she's at. Yeah, way. It's like off the screen, and she's. This is like the sunken living room. This is like the lofty area, the kitchen, and then you go up here, up another flight, boom, way up there. So I'm listening. I can just about hear if I listen real carefully. So that's the tour. I hope you guys feel like you closer to the ProQuo Show. That's where we. That's where it all takes place. That's where the magic happens. Um, so you are really up close and personal with ProQuo. And I tell all my faculty, by the way, I tell all faculty who I work with, you should definitely take people on the tour. If you're teaching online, anybody who's online, let the people know where they are. You coming up into people's home when you're teaching, asking them to share their camera. Are you sharing your camera? You know what I mean? So take them on a tour, walk them around the house, let them get familiar with where you live. I walk outside the door. I take the camera outside there and do what we got to do. Thanks, Tree. Appreciate it. It definitely does what it needs to do. So appreciate it. So that's we're coming to you live from ProQuo Show. So when you come out our door, we're right next to the highway, really very close to it. There's a big street here, and then you cut through, and the highway's right there. And we are like 2.5 exits away from the Pentagon, and then DC is the next exit. So it is a skip and a jump. Fun fact about Alexandria. Alexandria used to be DC. So a lot of times I say that to Henry who moved here. We live on our old. It's good. You know what? Find out whose land you live on. In other words, find out what Native Americans inhabited your land. It's a very cool educational thing. And so where we are is definitely Native American land. There's no question about it. And slave trade as well. Alexandria, Old Town Alexandria. They used to bring the slaves right in off the bay, coming right over from Africa. That's old Town Alexandria. People are like, oh, it's so quaint, it's so lovely. It's also an old slave town too. And Alexandria has some crazy history. Also got some bad history in that crazy history. Old Town is beautiful, but wasn't so beautiful if you were back a few centuries ago, or even a couple centuries ago. So we are before that history. This dates back 8,500. Think about that, 8,500 years ago. Native Americans on the land here, and all kinds of artifacts have been found, even as far back as 2,500, when it was still crazy inhabited by Native Americans. They have all the hunting supplies. There's this water that comes through where we are. We're called Stone Gate, and so Stone Gate is like the stone gate for the water kind of thing. I mean, you could feel it. You walk down the street and it still feels like old time. And It's crazy. So it's cool when you really do that, and you can feel like the presence, the vibe, the soul, the spirit of where you live when you investigate it. So I don't know if anybody's into that kind of thing. Maybe it's just me. That's cool if it is. I don't mind if it's just me. But I've been really into that lately, just kind of figuring those things out and do what you got to do. My son is kicking up a storm at Taekwondo, looking at the pictures here while sparing you guys what we got to look at here. Looking at my son is getting it done. You know what? So I had to bribe the son. Had to bribe my son. Let me tell you about it. So he's coming into the finish line. Let me see if I get the belts right. So Taekwondo came out here when he's 4.5. He's now almost 9.5. And so you do the math, right? Almost 9.5. Started Taekwondo almost immediately when we got out here. Black belt, right? I've talked about him before, but he's about to be a second degree black belt. Not like in a week or anything like that, but he will soon be testing for his next month. He'll be testing for his red stripe. And the way it works, Taekwondo, and the Grand Master is actually at his dojo. So he's now trained by the Grand Master. Used to be trained by another master who was just amazing. Master Own. Shout out to Master Own. And now Master John is there. Master John is the son of Grandmaster, and Grandmaster's famous. He taught he was the coach for the women's Taekwondo brass. What am I saying? Bronze medal team for America, which is kind of his claim to fame. Came over like I want to say like around 1980. Came over and started teaching Taekwondo here from Korea. So my son's learning from him, and my son's a beast. Quite honestly, he really is. But he's losing steam, right? You get the puppy. He's been doing it forever. He's like, Daddy, I'm just tired of this Taekwondo. He's like, they're used to COVID, right? They get a lot of chill time. They get to get out on the computer. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of bad things happen with COVID with kids, right? And so I'm trying to look at my hair and see, is that reflection or is it like something shining in my hair? I think it's just the light. I want to make sure I didn't have like something that the dog did or something. So my point is, he comes out, he's 4.5, right? You go through the black belt. He was ready to test when he was 7. Finally tested, and by the time he get awarded, he just turned 8. He's now more than halfway there, and I think it goes when you're going for the first time, they have half belts, right? So he was like white belt. First, you no belt, right? And each one's like 2 months. You're like no belt, then you're white belt. I'm going to screw the order up. It was white belt. Then I could cheat and just look at the wall. Yeah, let me do that. Let me cheat so I don't screw it up. If this is, I don't know if this is gripping anybody here. Let me see if I can blow up the wall here so I can kind of cheat. Yeah, it's kind of tough. All right. So it went white, then it went low yellow, high yellow. Now he got in before they started going low high on all this. It's another way to make money too, but to do more thorough Taekwondo international rules and stuff, they want to make sure you're more thorough. So he started that he was white, yellow, orange, and then they started saying you're going to go high and low belts. So now what they do is they go low, no belt, white belt, yellow, high yellow, orange, high orange, green, high green, light blue, high light blue, blue, high blue, purple, high purple. I think am I missing something? No, red, high red. Then they do brown, high brown, then bow black, which is black with a red stripe, and then black. That's a lot of belts. Each one of those 2 months, right? And then when you go for your second degree, they take 2 months on each color, and you get a stripe on your belt. So he goes through, he gets his black belt, and then they do 2 months later, get your white stripe, get your yellow stripe, get your orange stripe, get your green stripe, get your light blue, dark blue. Did I skip green in there? I think, well, let me say it again. You go white, yellow, orange, green, light blue, dark blue, purple, and then you go red, brown, black. You skip below black when you're going for a second time. Black, right? So all he has left to get, because he's purple, he's going to get his red, then it's brown, then it's black stripe, and then you're testing. Whenever testing is only twice a year. So his testing is December, which he'll obviously miss. He won't be ready for that, but not too far off. And then May is when the next testing will come around. He'll have just turned 10, but he will be ready to test if everything stays on time when he's still 9. It'll be March when he gets his black stripe, which is a big, big deal. And then he'll just be training to take the test. My opinion, he's pretty close to doing it now. He's actually training the little kids on the off days. He does Taekwondo Tuesday, Thursday. He on the off days he gets in there and he's like leading kids on the after school Taekwondo, whatever, because he's a black belt. He's a big man on campus. He's the youngest black belt, but he's a black belt. So and he can get it done. So I'm bragging on my son a little. I guess that's what I'm doing. And I have to bribe him because now he's lost the steam. He's like, Daddy, I don't even want the black belt again. He does, but he doesn't know he does. So I got to kind of help him. So I'm like bribing him, trying to figure out what I'm going to have to bribe him with. I'm thinking like family vacations, maybe a gaming chair one day, right? He wants an iPad at some point. His Kindle has been dead for a while, so that's not the end of the world, even though it's a big ticket item. And he loves Roblox, of course. All kids do that at his age, or most kids do. And $10 for him is like a wonderful thing, but we make him pay for it himself with money that he's earned. So for him to get $30 that he doesn't have to pay for himself, that's a huge deal. So I asked him the other day, I said, outside of a family vacation, maybe when you get that second degree black belt, which for him, he's going to want it to be Galaxy's Edge. So does Daddy. And outside of that, which may come, or maybe Turks and Caicos, where we went before we went on Wheel of Fortune, which is another, he loved that more than anything. The next thing up, you know what he says? He's like, well, maybe Roblox. And I was like, ooh, $30 maybe? He's like, yeah, that'll make me work for it. And he's been kicking and screaming to even go lately on Tuesday and Thursday, especially with the puppy. He's like, I don't want to leave the puppy. So he's like, no, I'm not going. This is stupid. He's getting into that zone, which he's totally not, because once he's there, he's in love with it. He's just, throwing out the fit. And but they work hard, and it's been summer. It's been super hot. They're working hard. He's at school. He's in camp all day. It's been long, right? So I get it. You got to take a break. So we're like letting them take breaks or whatever. But the thing is, Taekwondo is a racket. For anybody who's a parent of Taekwondo out there, Taekwondo is big money, right? My wife does Taekwondo too, so we're times two. And it's not like we get discounts off because it's a family or anything like that. And they do after school and they do summer camp. It's just it is definitely college tuition. There's no question about it. It's the same or more than a lot of people's college tuition. So to be paying and have them go, I don't want to go. It's like, okay, we got to make a decision. Are you going or are you staying, right? And so when you're this close and you've invested this much in the second black belt, it's like you really got to get there. You know what I'm saying? So we owe it to ourselves to know our kids enough to come up with a few incentives, carrots or sticks. We talk about this on Introverse, right? Everything in this world, I'm a big proponent of that. The only way people do anything, I can't think of one single thing that we do that is not based from reward or punishment. Can you? Is there anything that you do as a human that is not based on reward or punishment? Right? Everything we do, no matter how let's use the big word, altruistic, right? No matter how altruistic we think we are. And people like that, right? They go, oh, he's such a great guy. Oh, she's such a great gal. At the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, even if it's save the babies, save the whales, save the sea otters, whatever you're doing, you do it for reward and punishment. In our head, we like to go, yo, I'm a good person, right? I'm helping people cross the street or whatever, but you do it for the intrinsic reward, right? It makes you feel better. Now that's a good thing. I would argue that's a very good thing that we feel good when we do good, right? And the more you do, the more you tap into that. And we call those people good people, right? Because our reward system is intact, right? It's lined up. It's not our punishment system, right? We're not like punishing ourselves because we give a gift to someone else. Like, oh, I'm going to forego this present and get for myself and give it to someone else. You actually feel better, right? When you pay it forward and do that kind of stuff. So, Tree, thanks for rocking with me here. I'm reading your replies. So it's coming up with rewards for other people is your job, because no one goes to work because they're like, oh, I just want to go to work. It's just such a great thing. No, you would rather sit on the couch, or unless you love your job like nobody's business. I like my job a real lot. If I didn't have it tomorrow, my world would not be shattered. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like, oh my God, it's not like losing a loved one. So you don't love it like that. You in a best case scenario, you really, really like your job. Job when you work for someone else, right? You might love your own thing, that's possible. I suppose if you started something like I love ProQuo, right? Like I love rapping, like I love like stuff that you create, and I really, really, really like my job. Right? I've liked all my jobs that I've done, except for a couple. I had a couple absolutely awful jobs. But why do you do them? You do them because you're getting paid, right? Or you do them because we say all this stuff in an interview, but none of it's true. You're doing, I mean, the stuff you say in an interview is also then like everyone knows you're there for the money, right? So you don't lead with when people go, hey, what's the reason you're here? Well, I really like the paycheck. I mean, a lot of times you don't even know what the paycheck's going to be, right? It's like guess the price. You don't even know what it's going to be until you get through the interview. You might hate it, so you got to come up with other stuff because you don't even know what that reward is half the time if it's not advertised. So if I'm interviewing for manager of Walmart, and I have no idea what it pays. I might be able to do my research. Maybe it pays 50 grand. I have no idea what a manager at Walmart makes, right? Maybe it's 100 grand. I know it's not that, but if it's 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand, 40 grand, whatever, you can do a little research and find out what it is. And there's got to be something else other than the salary because I'm assuming you could find other jobs that are in a similar market rate, right? So what is it about Walmart? Is it their wonderful benefits? You want to shop in the store. You want to be able to relocate. It's got to be reward and punishment. Anything else that we do out there that isn't one, I would love to know. Search your soul and figure out why you're doing what you do. And it's probably reward and punishment. The best thing you can hope for is that your reward and punishments are well aligned, right? You probably want to be punished for doing something that would stop the species, right? Like something that would lead you to extinction, you'd probably want to be punished for that, right? And your body does that as a mechanism, right? We feel pain when we're doing things that are bad for us. It's the body's carrot and stick system. Your body goes, don't do that. And think about the things that we enjoy. Think about the things that we really like and think about the joy, the elation, I would say, that we feel when we're doing the things that we enjoy. Start with a simple one, eating. We have a reward for eating. Our body goes, this tastes good. Imagine if food tasted like crap all the time. If we evolutioned food to taste awful, we would probably die as a species. If we're like, this tastes like crap. Luckily, crap tastes like crap because it's not good for you to eat. My puppy's not 100% aware of this fact. However, I want to point that out. Puppy not 100% on board with that yet. But the puppy's doing a bang-up job of pooping and peeing where she's supposed to poop and pee. I couldn't be more pleased. I am pleasantly surprised by that. So yeah, everything reward, everything punishment. So if you like what someone's doing, reward them, right? This is what Patreon is about, right? I don't have a Patreon account. I probably got to get one, and I'm not really big on that stuff. I'm not really big on being like, oh, give me a reward. Like right now, I feel weird about asking someone for like a financial incentive. And what the weirdness comes from is that you already have your awards in alignment a lot of times without that when it's small stuff. Like if I'm on a website and I'm trying to find 50 people to give me $1, it's like, really? Like, first of all, I don't need 50 people to give me $1, so I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that I want to avoid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that, like, oh, here comes Pro. He's going to got the handout. He's looking for something. Nah, like, I don't want to be that person. But again, it's not because I'm a good guy. It's reward. It's intrinsic. I don't want you thinking bad about me when you see me. So that's my reward, right? Is that a carrot or is that a stick? So we go through it, we think about things, but we do have empathy as a tool, right? I can empathize with it. And that's why that's so valuable. I can empathize with another person when I've been through the situation. Like, man, I don't want to be that dude that I try to avoid. You know what's funny? We get this dude, right? He's always at the mall and he's always got some hustle. And it's hilarious because I got to take a picture of it. I got to put him on blast. Not like I'm really trying to put him on blast, but it'd just be funny. Put him on like Instagram. He's got the clipboard thing. He's got the clipboard hustle going, right? And he's either homeless or one step away from it, truthfully, right? It's tough times for this dude. He's got the clipboard and it's make pretend, right? He doesn't really have an organization that he's really doing his thing for, right? I'm just going to put it out there. And there are plenty of people that do. This dude, trust me, he's not one of them. And he's right in front of a sign that they have plastered on the pillar that's holding up the overhead roof thing of the shopping mall. It says no loitering, right? Loitering was a word for me I found out when I was 12 only because I was doing my paper route and a lady had it on her porch. It said no loitering. And I used to wonder all the time, I was like, what is that word? And one day I looked it up. I went home. I was like, what is loiter? It has to mean something about like delivering packages or. And so I was like, am I loitering? Right? I never heard that word. I mean, you're 12. Who's going to hear loitering? Right? So I'm like loitering, and whatever the definition was something to the effect of like selling stuff, or I used to think of it hanging up. Like people probably incorrectly probably told me when I was asking, where I was like, what is that? You can't like hang out. No, it's you hanging out with the intent to sell stuff. Right? So I found out that word, but otherwise loitering for me, I know my vocabulary skill set. I wouldn't have found that out till in my 20s. I mean, I didn't find out many words that I should have found out when I was honestly in my 30s, and rules of grammar, I'm still finding out. Hey, my wife reminds me all the time. I have no control over the English grammar that I should at the level of where I've been educated, right? Or the level I've been educated to. The loitering thing, he's right in front of it. He's posted up right in front of it, and it's big. It's like a big red. But I'm thinking to myself, does dude really know the word loitering? Like, I want to go up to him and be like, yo, bro, like, just so you know, like, I'm not really trying to call you out like on that kind of level, but I want you to know that you're right in front of the thing that says police take notice. No loitering. I can't believe he hasn't been pulled over for that before. I don't mean pulled over, but like someone pull him aside and be like, hey, bro, like, you're good doing your thing, but maybe not here. And really, I do want to pull him over and be like, this hustle, bro, like, you'd be better off just asking for money instead of the fake thing. You know, he's got the same clipboard. It's ripped. It's just not even a good look. It's not even close to a good look. And I watch him when he's done. It's the funny part, because my son, he's given up on the time right about when my son's getting out of Taekwondo. It's usually a few minutes before. So we've been outside a lot during COVID, and I'm watching the dude go, just watching the dude, like, disassemble, let me say. And it's an interesting racket. Yeah, the clipboard. I mean, we all know the clipboard hustle. And sometimes you look at people and they just look dingy. They just look like the clipboard is going to be the fake thing, but it's real. Like, I've had people come to the door with they're the real deal clipboard, but the clipboard one is like, it's right up there with squeegee. It's just like a squeegee person coming, to get you. It's like, bro, the clipboard's not really doing it for most people, like, what's the number one hustle really that you're asked for? People, out on the street or whatever. I mean, in Lowell, it was always, can you help me? My car just broke down. I just need $1 for gas, right? And I'm always amused by that. I'm always just like, yo, I can't wait to see your car. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, can you take me to your car, bro? It's like, and my wife and I were both on the same plane with this. It's like, I will bring a dude right inside the store, buy the whole food, buy whatever, whenever I can. Be like, yo, let me take you inside, get what you want. I was with my son. We were at Burger King. And this lady was asking for food. She was really hard up, and she was like 17, and my son is like, Daddy, is she somebody who doesn't have a home? And I was like, yes. And I like the terminology he was using too, like, not homeless. She's somebody like without a home, like currently without a home. Pretty cool way to break it down. And I was like, yeah, she is. And he's like, did you just give her money? I was like, no, I bought her. I asked her what she wanted. And he goes, oh. And he's like, why'd you do that? He goes, mommy does that too. And, we were having a discussion. He asked the same question over and over. They're at that age where they want to hear the answer 20 times. And it's a tough conversation, because you're like, it's always a good conversation because you're talking about some people have, some people don't. You want them to know where you kind of fit in the world socioeconomically. Like, my son is aware that mommy and daddy are not broke. Lord willing, it'll stay that way. But he's aware that where he is in the pecking order. He's aware that when you go down the hill and you go on the other side, that's where the really wealthy people live. Everybody always says really wealthy too. Everyone has a different definition. Just like I'm over 6'3", so tall to me starts at 6'4". Right? Like, for me, tall is 6'4" and up, maybe 6'5". Like, I'm like, basically 6'4" in my shoes, and I'm like 6'5". Now that's a tall basketball player, right? Like, man, if I was only 6'5", and people are 5'9", are killing to be 6 feet, so I get it. It's all relative. But for our relative is when you go down the hill, and it's housing project on the one side of the bottom of the hill, and it's like massive old, like I was talking about earlier, old money Virginia is on the other side when you go down the other thing. We're right on the precipice of that. So he knows, he's aware that we don't got mansion money, but we're not doing too poorly, right? And then he'll ask questions like, "Daddy, why do you have money? Why does mommy have money?" And like we explain where the money comes from and do all this kind of stuff, right? And it's a good age, right? And when you're talking about homelessness, you're talking about like probability in some cases. It's like one wrong decision for anybody can set you on a path that can change your whole life, right? It can be one fight, one argument, one decision not to show up for something. And a lot of times it's much more systemic than that. I understand that. It can be familial, it can be substance, it could be a lack of skills, it could just be an unfortunate turn of events where you don't have anyone else in your family. Imagine that you're 16 and 17 and you suddenly have no parental supervision, right? It's like, will you be able to figure it out at 16 or 17? And imagine you have no other family. I think about that with my son because he doesn't have any other siblings and not a lot of like first, second cousins, uncles, aunts, anything like that around too often, right? So it's like, what would you do? What would you do in the situation? How would you get over? How would you survive? And would you survive well? And then would you have the guidance to make really, really good conversation? So yeah, Tree, exactly. So the conversation is amazing because you hear like kids are unbelievably empathetic as long as you don't squeeze it out of them, as long as you don't be too cynical, as long as if you just let them do the talking. Like I just ask them, be like, oh yeah, like even when he was using terminology, like, oh yeah, did you hear that on TV? So much that they'll pull from a quick cartoon or a video or book that they're reading in school or something that's talking about, right? Or often just in life that they overhear. They hear someone in Taekwondo or in after school or whatever, and they see all the different circumstances, right? And you think about even Taekwondo, like even though there are clearly people in there that are struggling, they're only struggling comparatively because they can afford Taekwondo. Whatever they're doing, they can make Taekwondo work. That already puts you in a different stratosphere. You're affording Taekwondo, which costs a couple $100 a week, right? So, or whatever it is, it's probably pretty close to that. Even that, I'm not even aware, right, of how much it is. That totally puts you in a different circumstance, right? If I was really her, I would know it to the penny. I'd be like, yo, that's 128.75 that I got to come up with every week, right? And so what is the luck, what is the fortune, what is the privilege that has allowed us to get to the point that you don't have to do that is great conversation with your young people. And a lot of times people are like, oh, it's something homeless, we don't want to talk about that. Yeah, it's difficult conversations because we don't often grapple with it ourselves of what it is that makes somebody get to that point. And when you really think about, like, I say this on stages a lot, I'll say, ask yourself right now how you got here. I mean, here, right now, like talking to you. I mean, how did you get here watching me speak? How did you get where you're sitting? Think about the chain of events that led to it. I do this all the time, so I'm used to it, right? I ask the question, so I better do it all the time, right? I'll go through it really, really quickly right now for you to even get to the point, right? I'm in Northern Virginia. My wife is from Northern Virginia. We moved to Northern Virginia. My wife wanted to move back, right? We're in Northern Virginia. I came. My wife, how did she get to where she was? She went to Berklee College of Music. Her neighbor played amazing guitar and was mentioning going to Berklee College of Music. Maybe if that doesn't happen, she doesn't get there. She's an amazing singer, right? Her mom is an amazing singer, right? You think of a family, you think of, okay, they're from Virginia, right? She goes there, she stays there, she gets a job up there, she's a singer up there. Fee and Ruby are in the same group as her, singing with Frank, and Frank came to her wedding, so did Ruby and Fee, obviously. They're singing. If I didn't know Fee, if I didn't know Ruby, if I didn't know Frank, well, I didn't know Frank until then, like, none of that stuff would have happened. How did I know Fee, right? Went to the same high school, went to same middle school, same high school, right? You think it was like lived on the border of each other, became friends, had something in common, lived down the street from where I grew up as a little kid. Where did I grow up? I grew up in Lowell. How did my parents get there? They were from Lowell, and their parents are immigrants. And they, like, how did they get there? Like, the Greek side came over on the boat and the French side came down from Maine and northern Canada, right? You're just doing all this kind of stuff and you're thinking, what led to you getting to where you are? And that's only going surface level. And we all have this little surface level story that we tell ourselves. And it's not make pretend. It's just like, we only know so far. Like, how far back do you know? And think of the privilege you have if your family was not shackled in chains, slaves, right? Whose histories often are left to sort of, oral tradition, if they're lucky enough to know, where kids weren't dragged away and separated, at birth, literally, right? Think about that privilege to know your ancestry. And when you're talking about it in front of some people, how that can make other people feel who may only know a couple generations back. And you might have 27 generations back documented from some ancestry.com before it was ancestry.com. You might have it in paper, you know. One side of my family does too. They got the whole paper trail. But you probably only know a few names really back, you know, because after your great grandparents, it's kind of it's kind of hard to know. But that's the tippity top of the iceberg. And you don't know nothing about the countless infinity generations that came before them. And you just go, oh, I'm whatever. Oh, I'm African American. Oh, I'm French. I'm Greek. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Dominican. Whatever you are. You're just saying the latest and greatest piece of that story. And you probably don't know the pounds of stuff that came before it or how they got there, of the things they had to overcome. And it's just crazy when you think about you are the result of every single person who's ever come before you living long enough to procreate before they died, right? They might have died the day after in some cases, and I'm sure throughout your evolution, right, that happened at some point where somebody just, like, maybe they just gave birth and died right after and had you or had an ancestor, right? But that has to happen. Everybody's got to live basically around 20 years throughout history for you to get here, for me to get here. It's next to impossible that we're alive. And so, relatively speaking, when we think about someone in this generation, at this time, when we think of somebody who's without home, right? Or somebody, it's unfathomable that we're as fortunate as we are, that we're even here, and that might not be you. By virtue of you probably watching this, it's probably not you. You know, just thinking of the technological needs it requires and what you're doing on a Friday night or a Saturday morning or whatever it is, right? It's like, how did you get here and what has allowed you? And when you start thinking like this, it's hard not to. And I'm always doing the binary math, right? I'm trying to always get this in people's head, right? Like, you know, you flip a coin, it's 2 to the n is the sample space. Flip a coin, it can be heads or tails, right? It's 2 to the n. It's also the same thing for your ancestry. It's 2 to the n because you have one parent, 2 parents, right? And so you have 2 sets of parents. You have 4 sets of grandparents, well, 4 total grandparents. You have 8. So it's 2 to the n. 2, that's just 3 generations back. 2 to the third is 8, right? And if you do that and you think about, just use something like when the country became the United States of America, right? Just think about late 1700s, just roughly for your math, right? We'll go late 1700s to late 18 to late 19. 200, let's call it 250 years. How many generations are there in 250 years? If we're going to call a generation the time it takes someone to procreate, right? Approximately 20 years. I know it's 25, 30, 35, 40. Some people have kids at 50, right? 50 plus, right? But on average, it's about 20-ish. How many times does 20 go into 250? I'll wait. How many times does 20 go into 250? I'll wait. What do you know? 20 times 10 is 200. 20 times 12 is 240. So let's call it 12, roughly, right? Because I realize you could procreate at 18. Probably way back. People did it earlier, right? 16, 15, whatever. So let's just call it 12 generations back. The question for you is, what is 2 to the 12th? That's how many ancestors you have just on the parental level, meaning they were a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, and so forth. Not uncles and cousins and all that stuff. Just your direct lineage of parentum. I made up a word, parentum. What is 2 to the 12th? And that's how many you have. And that's just going back 250 years. So let's do it. 2, 4, we're doubling, right? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 1,024, 2,048, 4,096 is the answer. You have 4,096 sets of parents on that level, right? 2 to the first. You got 2 parents. You got 4 grandparents. But here's the kicker. You're adding those all up because that's just on the 2 to the 12th level. That means back in the mid 1700s, you have 4,000 plus sets of ancestors then floating around that tie back to you. And every level that you come down, you got, more. But I realize it's not perfect because there's people that are dropping off, right? There's people that are dying and so forth. So it's not like people live forever. But you get the feel for what I'm saying. You got your 2 parents, you got your 4 grandparents. And I realize they're not living forever, but you got to sum them all up because unless there's some heavy incest going on, they're all different people. So now the question is, what is 2 to the first plus 2 to the second plus 2 to the third all the way up to 2 to the 12th, right? Add that up. And I'm going to give you a hint. It's a big number, right? It is the answer of what is 2. We're going to plus all these, right? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 1,024, 2,048. And each one is basically doubling. So the one before it is almost halving, right? So roughly, if you want to go 4,000, 2,000, 1,000, 500, 250, right? And just sum those up, you can get a feel. You can probably do that math pretty quick. But you can see it's in the thousands. And that's just you. And that's just 250 years back. And what's staggering is you have no idea, unless you play with numbers for a living, of how rapidly the exponential growth actually happens, because it's not linear. It's not like a smooth line. It's exponential. It jumps through the ceiling. When we get to numbers like 2 to the 10th is basically 1,000. 2 to the 20th, it may not be very intuitive, but it's 1,000 thousands, which is 1,000,000. So when you're at 2 to the 20th, you're in the million. So what does that mean? If you go back 20 generations, you have 1,000,000 sets of ancestors. 1,000,000 of the people that live right there are your direct ancestors, right? If you go to the 30th, you're jumping back another 1,000 and another 1,000 off of 1,000,000. You're in the billions. When you go back 30 generations, how many years is that? 30 times 20, we're talking 600 years ago. Billion, right, is the number that's right on there when you go back 600 years. So you cannot fathom how many people have had to survive to make it to the age 20, because you can barely do the math to go back 600 years. Imagine what it's like to go back 8,500 years when I was talking about those Native Americans on the land that I live on right now. This is what mathematics can do for you. And we're just being rough with it. We're not being very mathematical with it at all. We're just doing really, really kind of basic numbers, right? And if you don't do this kind of stuff every day, if you're not thinking analytically, quantitatively, it's hard to do it on the fly. And your brain's not trained for it. And you don't become the BS detector that a lot of us who are in that world say readily that we are able to do. It's why you don't fall for the okie doke. It's why you don't fall for the grifters and the shysters. I find a grifter a mile away. Instantly I hear it start speaking. I'm like, oh, load of crap, right? Know all the buzzwords and your body and your brain no longer accept BS when you hear it. You quantitatively know when something's true. When the probability of something, it almost feels instinctual that that's a bad deal. This is a good deal. You make decisions better is what I'm saying, right? And though math is not the end all be all, it's a sales pitch for why you want to have it in your life and why it's your friend, and can really help you analyze these things. So when I'm talking to my 9-year-old son, of course, I'm giving him the math lesson on the side while I'm giving him the social awareness as well. While I'm giving him the history and all that kind of stuff. And so that he's thinking these things and he's challenged with these thoughts as well as he can. Because if you don't have someone leading you in that right direction, you might never get to it at all. And then it just helps you maybe not make one of those bad decisions in your life. It's not foolproof, but it certainly increases the probability that when these kind of conversations are had with you, when you're thinking about your fortune, when you're thinking about your privilege, when you're thinking about how one false move can really end that all, right? And you think about how precious that cycle is. And that's just for you. And that's just for your family. And think about that for everyone. And then you start to think, you think how precious life really is and how much time we don't have to waste on our day to day. So with that, I'm getting ready to wrap up. We are getting ready to revamp the ProQuo Show, folks. Been building a lot with my man Quo. We got more music coming for you. We got some crazy stuff in the works. We got Dive In It coming to radio. I can't wait for Dive In It to come to radio. Thanks, Tree. Appreciate it. I cannot wait for Dive In It. Like I said, it's one of my favorite songs on the album, if not my favorite song. But there are other songs on there. Oh, man, my goodness. Like Apologize, these kind of songs we're hitting you with a vibe on our next album that we're doing. Um, we officially have about 10 tracks ready to come, and we're trying to figure out how many more we're going to do and how many are going to make the actual album. And we're thinking about doing singles before the album this time around. First time we did the album, so everything's out there in the ether. If you want to go find one of the songs on the ProQuo album, it's pretty easy to do. If you jump on over to professorlyrical.com, everything's there. There's a ProQuo page. There's an XCal page on there as well too. Shout out to my man Fee, the evolutionist. We did an interview last night. We're doing a lot of little interviews and promos and that kind of stuff. So while that song is hopefully peaking over the next few weeks, we'll be getting ready for Dive In It to creep on in it with my man Hendo and my man Quo. We're going to be promoting that to you. We got also, what else can I tell you about musically? Dark Poetry is out there in the ether as well. Shout out to Montreal Girls. I got that on my page as well. I got a song called Masquerade coming out right before Halloween. Makes sense, right? Masquerade is coming out right before Halloween. And that has a lot of different topics in there we're going to be building onto. All kinds of new music. I'm jumping back in some of these online battles coming up this month, one next month. Shout out to my people that are doing rap battles and keeping the culture alive, whether it's online or in person. A little bit of that's coming out. You all know about Pat Stay. Those of you who are MC fans or rap battle fans know Pat Stay was a beast with it. So it's just a crushing loss for people who are into battle rap culture and just his fam and all that out there. I know you've been inundated with everything about the Queen. My opinion on the subject is pretty easy to find on my page. I'm not going to spend another second on that stuff because I find it to be ridiculous. I don't mean life loss, but I'm just saying the whole thing is ridiculous. I've never bought into that stuff, other than the fact that XCal has a hint to King Arthur and nobility and all that kind of stuff too. But I've watched some of those shows and all that good stuff. But outside of that, can we move on from the monarchies? You know what I mean? Can we move on? Probably no. It's big business. I get it. So yeah. So shout out. We got some revamps coming up for the ProQuo Show. We got trying to line up much more compelling guests that we're going to trying to do the clips. We never do the clips. We never promote the clips. We never really promote the show. We just kind of organically put it out there. That's how we do. And it's the same thing with Introverse. But we are actually working on some of the promos now. Bernard and I, who do the Introverse at 6:30, we got some shows coming up. We got some stuff we got to do. So we are packaging the stuff neater and more concise. And we got all kinds of overlapping things going on. I got places to be, perform, songs to do. The schedule is pizzacked. And I'm still looking to pizzack it more. So holler at your boy. There's only so many hours in the day, but we're trying to pack them because, like we said, time is fleeting and you got to get it while you can. And let me end with this. I'm going to go out on just a little bit of hip hop news here. If you didn't hear, check out, if you scouring the internet, check out there's been a lot of talk about Nicki Minaj ghostwriting. And does Nicki really have time to be writing the rhyme she does? I mean, I know some of her newer efforts have not been, as stellar as some of the old ones, but the question is Nicki actually writing her stuff? So Nicki Minaj ghostwriting claims disputed by Hitmaker. I'm going to be interested to see where that goes. I have not been following the whole Lil' Kim remix of Megan Thee Stallion's Plan B. It was taken down from websites right after it happened. So that's going to be interesting as well. What else did I want to tell you about? There was another piece of hip hop news I forgot I wanted to talk about. What the heck was it? It wasn't Kanye. I didn't want to talk about that. Oh yeah, it was the Queen thing. So 21 Savage. I don't know if you can follow this. His fans want him crowned the new King of England following the Queen's death, because King Charles now is the king, right? So shout out to 21 Savage fans. Who got the best fans in hip hop? That's the question. Who got the best fans in hip hop? A lot of people would say it's NBA YoungBoy. Dude got no hits, none. You can't name an NBA YoungBoy. I know the melodies, but I don't know the names of the song off the top of my head. Like, I've probably watched 20 NBA YoungBoy videos, which is only a small dent in the armor, right? First thing when I moved here, everyone was like, NBA YoungBoy. I didn't even know who he was when I moved here. and 5 years ago. First thing I did, I sat down, I started watching some NBA YoungBoy videos. Little did I know that was just tip of the iceberg, and then it all started coming through. His fans are insane, yo. They love this dude like nobody's end. They love this dude. And I get it, right? I get it. He shares all kinds of stuff, right? So he's made himself near and dear to his fan base, which is something that you should do, I think. Is dude the GOAT? Clearly not. Is dude the best rapper ever? Not even close, right? But the dude shares his life and he's serviceable. He's serviceable. The beats are dope. He's serviceable. And he's got no hits. His fans are like if you had a fan, you want them to be NBA YoungBoy fans. I mean, they know everything about dude. They rode for that dude. That dude, he's got 600,000 views like the next day. You know what I'm saying? His fans are fervent. So it might be his fans. Could be 21 Savage. When you try to think of some of these like all-time classic hip hop artists, like are their fans that dope? Maybe Jay-Z's got some fans like that. I mean, he seems to have staying power. LL sure does. Just Wu-Tang. I mean, just they come out, they do a show, it's going to be packed, right? Now Wu-Tang's not packing at the level of like a Jay-Z would. Jay-Z's like amphitheaters. I mean, open air stadiums, and like Wu-Tang probably could do a couple of those, but for the most part, they're theaters. You know what I'm saying? There's different levels to this stuff, but man, if you're trying to live, you're trying to eat forever, man. You got fans like NBA YoungBoy. As long as he lives forever, he's gonna live forever. So, shout out to his fans, and it's always an interesting question. All right, and shout out to mine. Shout out to ProQuo. Shout out to Quo. Shout out to Freedom Corner Brand. Shout out to Sony Orchard. Shout out to Hendo. And shout out to everybody making it. And Jonah, I see you. I know you got the release too. We got to talk more about that.